Hello and welcome to the May 18 update for Sketchy Tactics. As always, this will be released in advance for supporters and available on a week delay for everyone else. I'm recording a day late. Apologies for that. Was not feeling well yesterday. Still a little raw in the throat. But got some good stuff to show you. Last week was a busy week with my actual day job, which I do all day. And some of my evening time went to prep for buying a house, which happened on Friday. So that was a big thing, but that did eat up some time and ate up a little bit of time for celebration on the weekend too. But list of things that I want to show today. It's going to be a shorter video. We have implemented aggro versus non-aggro monster groups. I'm going to show how that works. That's kind of a global implementation. We have the last two of the three initial professions implemented. So I previously showed the Gemcutter. Now I'm going to show you the Craftsman and the Jeweler. And then I'm going to show a new rune type, which was implemented as part of that demonstration. And I'm doing this live without rehearsal, so there might be some bugs here. So I'll show you the aggro stuff, but we're gonna work with crafting a couple items with some things in my inventory, and I'm going to have to switch in and out at some point to swap the professions. So we have enemy groups here, and the way this works is if you path too close to an aggro group, it will start a fight, but you can walk through a group that is not aggressive totally safely. So this group here, not aggressive, because it only contains tanks, and they are not flagged as aggro. The kite enemies are flagged as aggressive. So there's a mixed group, there's a mixed group, there's a mixed group. Let's find one here that won't clean the floor with us. Although that might be a tall order. Again, this is all placeholder art, so we're just working on the game engine at this point. You know what, I'll just suicide for the sake of the demo if I don't find anything reasonable soon. No, there's a kite. We can take that one, but okay. Well, I showed you here. We're safe passing through this guy. Not a problem. But as soon as we get close to this guy, we are going to get aggroed on. And we're probably going to get our clock claimed, as I said. But we'll do this fight real quick, win or lose. And then I'll show you the crafting professions. Oh, it might be okay. No, that way. Too strong. 10 health. Yeah. Forgot that I set this character up as level 1. Actually, we might be fine. I didn't actually equip my spell, which has made this quite boring. All right. Basic monster setup. Okay. So that's how the aggro and non-aggro groups work. So you're going to need to be cautious about who you walk near. See, that's safe because they're both tanks, so I can go right on by. Now we're going to pop in here. I have already completed the quest to gain access to the nomad encampment on this character, which again right now is not populated. We are going to go find our good friend Karen and do some crafting. I still haven't fixed that orimetry bug. Bigger fish to fry. Our stellar crafting bench. So what we're going to do, if it works, is we are going to add some sockets to our ratty bindle backpack, and then we are going to use some round quartz on the bindle. That says uncut, but that's a mistake, so I'll have to fix that afterwards. We're going to add a socket here, and I cheated and made this 100%, so I don't have to do this 100 times. So now we have a socket on our bindle. It's still going to be 100%, so we're going to go up to 3 sockets on our bindle. So we have 3 gem sockets here. Now this is where I'm going to have to save my game and switch my profession, so bear with me for a second. So the socket adding gets more difficult as you go, which makes sense. So the more sockets you add, the more difficult it gets, and the higher level items are more difficult as well. Make sure we got this picked up here. There we go. Going back in. So the idea is in the beginning, you probably just want to slap 1, maybe 2 sockets on your gear. I have to actually avoid the enemies now. But later in the game, the min-max possibilities, which I talked a little bit about in the jeweler video, really open up because you can really risk high-level items with a large number of sockets and high-level gems, which gets progressively more difficult, but you can craft some pretty nutty stuff. Now, I have not actually tested this gem yet, so you are seeing it in real time. The Quartz gem is a new one, which can be used for adding capacity to backpacks. Now, there's an opportunity cost for that because, well, it's good for professions and wheeling and dealing and all that sort of thing. The downside to that is that you don't have the opportunity to add better stats to the backpack. So we are going to drop that in there, drop our quartz in there, with 60% chance of success. I did not successfully cheat on that. We got it. So now we have a round quartz socketed in the first socket. This is not graphical yet, it's all text-based. And our 4 capacity has actually gone up to a 5. Now it's going to get more difficult. Oh, no, okay. I cheated, but I didn't set the value high enough. So we're going to craft it again. And we broke it. RIP. So that's the rundown there. So the jeweler can cut the gems, which makes them usable. The craftsman can add sockets, which makes the items socketable, and the jeweler is the one who can socket the cut gems provided by the jeweler in the items that the craftsman has socketed. I'll talk a little bit about some of the ideas for future professions later on, but in the first version, we're going to go with those 3. They're all dependent on each other. They have to work in concert to really create the powerful items, powerful crafted items. And you can only have 1 per character. So if you want to level all 3 professions, you're going to have to play 3 different characters. Or you can work with your friends to balance it out and assist each other with crafts and so on. So there's a little bit of an update. We got the aggro system working. That was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought because we had to kind of pass some data around from the enemy types up through the region tables and into the spawner. That got a little bit complicated. And then the crafting implementation for the jeweler in particular was tricky because some of the mods they're easy to modify. For example, on the capacity here, we just, if the craft is successful, get the current capacity value and add it by the amount on the gem. But for some of them, like action point, movement points, a couple other ones that I'm not going to name right now, a linear integer increase in values is absurdly overpowered. So there's actually some custom logic for different classes of gems based on their size to scale a little bit differently. And only supporters are going to eventually know the actual values for those. Everybody else can discover them or get them leaked, depending on whether or not you want your spoilers. So that's the update for now. Additionally, I added a bunch more fight maps, so we're closer to the 64 cap. That's kind of an ongoing thing. And then building out something like 160 entries in the statistical table for crafting. We're at like 60 of those. So there's a whole bunch of data entry stuff that I just do progressively over time and test the values. But the general next step, there's a few more things that I need to do, like adding modifiable range and line of sight mechanics to some of the spells to beef up the combat. Then we're going to add the quest to get you into the heat region. which is another technical implementation of the Quest system. The actual Quest right now isn't super important because this is all content to test the engine mechanics. And then once we have that, I will probably work on beefing up and adding more variety to the enemy AI. And then that'll set the stage to implement some of the early content. And I'm also looking for some artists to work with to do the graphical work for the game while I do the programming and maybe collaborate on some of the writing and world building stuff too. So if you're interested or know someone who might be, feel free to put them in contact with me. And thanks for watching. And as usual, this update will be available to patrons immediately, and it'll be on a week delay. So if you're watching this and you're not a supporter, you're a week behind the development. Thanks for watching either way, and hope you enjoy how the content in this game engine is building out. At some point in the future, I will do a kind of world overview video to give you a sense of what the backstory is, what some of the major thematic elements are, so you can get a general sense of the direction it's heading. But of course, everything in the game right now is just my sort of bad pencil art, and is not going to be the final visual implementation for the game. All right, thanks for watching, and catch you next time. Peace.